November 6, 2010. Churchill Downs, Louisville, Kentucky. A dark bay mare named Zenyatta breaks from gate 12 in her 20th career start, and she has never lost a race. 19 starts, 19 wins. The crowd is standing before the gates open because they believe they already know how this ends. At the half-mile pole, she is 19 lengths behind the field. This is normal. She always runs last. She always closes. She always gets there. With 100 yards left, she is still gaining on a colt named Blame, and every person in the grandstand can see she is going to catch him. She does not catch him. She loses by a head. And the strangest part is not the loss. It is that losing by 1 head length told the world more about this mare than 19 victories ever did. To understand why, you have to go back before the crowd and the noise. The $60,000 price tag at the 2005 Keeneland September sale is the number that matters. Not because it was a bargain, because it tells you what the market saw. By the time she retired, the people who passed on her that week would be asked about it in interviews. None of them had a good answer. The question the sport could never settle during her career was whether the 19 victories were real, not whether she won them, whether they counted. The answer did not arrive until she ran on the one surface her critics said would expose her. And there was a man named John Shirreffs who never trained a horse like this and never would again. The way he handled her is half the reason any of this happened. Shirreffs ran a quiet barn at Hollywood Park, not a factory, not a volume operation. He was the kind of trainer who stood at the rail in the early morning and watched without a stopwatch. When Zenyatta arrived as a late 2-year-old, he did not rush her. Her frame was enormous for a thoroughbred mare, 17 hands, 2 inches, built closer to a warm blood than a racehorse, and Shirreffs understood that a body that large needed time before it could be asked for speed. He waited through the winter. He watched her in the mornings. He let her tell him when she was ready. Jerry and Ann Moss owned her. They had been in California racing long enough to know the difference between a horse that looks good and a horse that is good. They had never owned anything like this. When Shirreffs told them she needed more time, they gave it to him. If you appreciate what I am doing here, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Now let us dive back in. She stood 17 hands 2 inches, and her coat was dark bay, so deep it read as black in the early morning shadow. A white blaze ran the length of her face, but the thing people noticed first was not her size and not her coat. It was what she did behind the starting gate. She danced. She bounced on her toes and swayed from side to side with her ears forward and her head high, rocking back and forth in a slow, private rhythm. Grooms called it her warm-up. It looked like a horse unbothered by the race she was about to run. It was the opposite. She was gathering. Every sway was preparation. By the time the gate opened, she had already been running for 10 minutes inside her own body, and nobody in the grandstand knew it. When she ran from the back. Not because she had to, because that was the plan Shirreffs and jockey Mike Smith had built around what she could do. Smith would take her to the back of the field immediately after the break. He would sit. He would wait. Every other jockey on the track was already riding. Smith was not. At the 3/8 pole, he would shift his weight and she would respond. Not gradually. The acceleration was immediate and sustained, stride after stride reaching further than the stride before it, the horses ahead of her compressing while she expanded. That was how it looked from the rail, like the race was going backward. Her first start was November 2007 at Hollywood Park. She won by 3 1/4 lengths. She won the next start. She won the one after that. By the middle of 2008, she had won 7 consecutive races, all on synthetic surfaces in California, and the critics had already identified the argument they intended to make. Here is the thing about that argument. It was not wrong. Between 2007 and 2009, every major California racetrack converted to synthetic surfaces. Tapeta, cushioned track, materials designed to reduce injuries and change the way the ground responded to a running horse. Zenyatta had never set foot on dirt, and in American racing, dirt is the only surface that settles a historical argument. Secretariat, Seattle Slough, Affirmed, Cigar. Every name that belongs in the permanent record earned it on dirt. Zenyatta had not. The criticism sharpened with every win. She was a synthetic specialist. She beat weaker California fields. She had never faced the best horses from New York or Florida. 13 wins, 14, 15. The number kept climbing, and so did the skepticism. A reporter asked John Shirefs in 2009 whether Zenyatta could win on dirt. The question was polite. It was loaded with the assumption that the answer was no. Shirefs entered her in the Breeders' Cup Classic. November 7, 2009, Santa Anita Park. The track surface was synthetic, but the field was not a California field. Grade 1 horses had shipped from across the country. Gio Ponte was in the gate. It was the first time Zenyatta faced males in a Grade 1 race. She broke last. She was 18 lengths behind at the half. Smith sat still. He waited, and then she came. She passed every horse in the field and won by a length. She became the first female to win the Breeders' Cup Classic in the history of the race. The question of whether she was real had been answered. The question of whether she was brave enough to prove it on dirt had not. Shirefs could have retired her. 19 for 19. Undefeated. The record sealed and untouchable. He chose Churchill Downs instead. Mike Smith said years later that the moment he knew she would win the 2009 Classic was not in the stretch. It was on the backstretch. He could feel her gathering underneath him a full half-mile before anyone in the stands could see movement. That feeling, the knowledge that the horse beneath you has more than she is showing and has not yet been asked to show it, is the thing no clocker records and no chart captures. The 2008 Apple Blossom Handicap was her 8th start. She won by 5 lengths. It was the first time a national television audience watched her run from last to first in real time and understood what they were seeing. The announcer's voice changed in the stretch. Not louder, slower, like a man trying to find the right words while the answer was still moving. The 2008 Breeders' Cup Ladies Classic at Santa Anita. She won by a half length over Cocoa Beach. Close enough to show she could be pressured. Dominant enough to show the pressure did not change the outcome. The 2009 Clement L. Hirsch Stakes. She won by 3. She had been 20 lengths behind at the half-mile pole and won without Smith ever asking her to fully extend. Nobody in the clocker's stand could agree on what her actual top speed was because she had never run at it. The calendar turned. 2010, Zenyatta was 6. Most mares have retired by 6. The Mosses announced one more season, one more Breeders' Cup. Churchill Downs, dirt. November 6, 2010, 49 degrees at post time. 12 horses. Post 12, the far outside. Blame was in the field. A 4-year-old colt trained by Albert Stahl III. Winner of the Stephen Foster Handicap. Winner of the Whitney. A serious horse. The horse nobody was talking about because every camera in the building was pointed at Zenyatta. The gate opened. She broke cleanly. Smith took her back. Last. The fractions were moderate. At the half-mile pole, she was 19 lengths behind the field. Exactly where she always was. Exactly where the plan said she would be. At the 3/8 pole, Smith shifted. She responded. At the quarter pole, she was 8th. At the 8th pole, she was 3rd. The noise at Churchill Downs reached a level the track's own engineers later said they had never measured before or since. Not louder than a Kentucky Derby. Something else, more sustained, like the crowd was pulling her forward by sound alone. 50 yards, she was 2nd. Blame was on the lead. She was closing with every stride. The wire came. Blame by a head. She lost. By a head. In her final start. On dirt at Churchill Downs. 20 starts, 19 wins, 1 loss. The people who had passed on her at Keeneland in 2005, who had looked at a $60,000 yearling and moved on to the next page, were now watching a mare with $7,686,750 in career earnings lose the last race she ever ran by a measurement shorter than the length of her own stride. The loss did not diminish her. It completed her. Zenyatta retired to Lane's End Farm in Versailles, Kentucky. She was bred to Bernardini, then to Warfront, then to Medaglia d'Oro and Tapit. Her foals have shown talent without repeating what she was. Cosmic won. Ziconic, none of them became her. This is not unusual. It may be the truest thing the record tells us. What she did on a racetrack was not a product of breeding alone, and it was not a product of training alone, and it has not been reassembled from its parts because the parts were never the point. She was voted Horse of the Year for 2010 despite losing her final start. The Eclipse Award voters chose her over Blame, the horse that beat her. That had not happened before in American racing. A horse loses the biggest race of the year, and the sport looks at the body of work and says it does not matter. She is still the best horse we saw this year. The record of 19 consecutive victories still stands. No North American Thoroughbred has matched it. The question the title asks, how good was she actually, has a precise answer and an imprecise one. The precise answer is in the numbers. $7 million in earnings. 13 Grade 1 wins. Eclipse Award over the horse that beat her. 19. The imprecise answer is what the 2010 Classic actually measured. Was the loss to Blame the ceiling of her ability, or was it the cost of asking a 6-year-old mare to run the most important race of her life on an unfamiliar surface at the end of a long campaign against the deepest field she had ever faced? Sheriffs chose the hard race because he believed she deserved to answer every question. She answered all of them except the last one. That question is still open. John Sheriffs, the quiet man who never had another horse like her and never will. He did not rush her as a 2-year-old. He did not protect the record when protecting it would have been easier. He let her dance behind the gate in her own private way, and he trusted that the dancing was part of what she was. The way he handled her is why the question this video asks has an answer worth sitting with. Lane's End Farm, Versailles, Kentucky. A dark bay mare, nearly black, stands in a paddock in the late afternoon. She is 22 years old. The white blaze is still there. The head is still high. She lost one race by one head, and the sport gave her the highest award it had anyway, because sometimes a single head length is not the distance between winning and losing. It is the distance between a great horse and proof that the greatness was never in doubt. If you like this story, do not miss the next one appearing on your screen right now.